And then I loop it for new people. You get everything set up. My audio is working, yeah. Gonna let this theme song run a little longer before I start. The way people can hide in. I really cannot dance. Okay, I'm not going to play that again for a third loop. So, welcome to Drawn with D Live. As always, the live internet drawing show where I show up when I feel like it, leave when I'm done, and give you maybe 3 or 4 minutes of warning to know the show is coming because I'm smart. As frequently, this episode of Drawing with D is unofficially brought to you by Dr. Pepper Zero Sugar. Dr. Pepper Zero Sugar. It will make me burp a lot, and they don't pay me to do this. They probably don't like that I'm even doing it, but I don't know. I really like Dr. Pepper, and I'm always drinking it and burping. The burp will come. Give it a moment. Oh, little one came out. So, lately, I have been doing some extra strips, like little bonuses. Generally, Finding D is just 1 day a week. For those who don't know about it, it's at findingd.com. It is a webcomic, semi-autobiographical webcomic about the ins and outs of coming out as transgender in your 40s and now 50s, and finding the funny in all of life's weird little circumstances. It's something I've been doing for a while now. It is a two-time National Cartoonists Society nominee for Best Short Subject Webcomics. Two-time nominee. We'll find out if I win in August. I'm excited. But again, I don't have any real agenda to this. It's just kind of a I've been doing for like if I have a storyline, I'll do 2 strips a week just so that they don't run. But I like to do a little something extra on Wednesday, and I've been doing these one panels for a while. And so that's what I wanted to do today is to do a little one panel gag that I came up with. And so I will transfer my screen to my drawing area. Ta-da! Okay, so as always, I am working in Clip Studio Paint. It's my favorite software for such things, especially concerning line art. So, if anyone has any questions who is watching, which I currently don't think I don't think I've got anybody here just now. We shall see. But if anybody pops in and is all like, my brain locked up, sorry. Checking messages and all that nonsense. Brain locked up. So yeah, I'm going to be working on this new strip. I like to do these kind of usually limited dialogues or no dialogue, little caption on the bottom, one panel gag. I like to run these on Wednesday. This will be running tomorrow on my Patreon and next Wednesday for everyone else. But if you happen to be watching today whilst I'm drawing, you get a little preview. So here's the roughs that I worked out for this one. I'm probably going to take the panel border off for this and just let the art kind of bleed out, which I think will look nice. But as a general rule, the idea here is I have 3 cats and 1 dog, and every single one of them does their level best to be as big of a pain in the butt and be underfoot. So I'm gonna actually go in. One of the reasons I love working digitally is I'm like, at first panel, me is smaller than the other ones, and I kind of want these to be a sequence so that they read proper to get the head levels about right. Give them a little bit more space, and there we go. Okay, cool. So I'm gonna center it a little bit more. But yeah, that's one of the things I love about doing these digitally is that I can somewhat infinitely adjust things. So for this one, I'm actually going to get rid of the border entirely. Well, now I'll make it just faint so that my little copyright and all that's up there on the screen while I'm working. I have the sketch layer in light blue, which is locked, so I can't draw on it accidentally. Every layer that is not being used right now, I am locking because I hate accidentally drawing on the wrong layer. I don't know anyone else who's like, oh, no, I have no problem with that. You know it all. It always stinks. Um, so I know this is probably not the best time for folks to be around, but I like to give the option. We've got a couple of folks. Duncan Rouleau is watching. Paul Henson is watching. Hi, both of y'all. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to ask. I can see the screen going. So if you have any questions or comments or anything like that about the process or whatever, random stuff, it gives me stuff to talk about. Otherwise, I'm going to just start looping my conversation points, which is always entertaining. So I'm in Clip Studio. I'm on my line art layer, 600 DPI, so it'll be nice and sharp for print purposes. I always kind of draw everything for print, make sure my ink is black. I have a set of brushes I like to use. These came from, it's called Friendon's brush set. And this is the brush I like is called Lando Calbrushian. It's a silly name, but I remember it because of that. Yay, spring. Um, and it has this really, really nice, like you can get these really nice thin, thick lines. I don't even have a lot of, I'm gonna put stabilization of the lines up to about 15 or so, just to make it a little smoother and a little quicker. But you get these really nice, almost like Jeff Smith or Walt Kelly thin, thick lines, which I really prefer. I generally do not like to keep my brush any bigger. Oh, Linda Michelle Lewis. Hello, Linda Michelle Lewis. If anyone has any questions, don't hesitate to ask. I always appreciate any kind of feedback or commentary that might be happening. And so, yeah, I like to keep my roughs really rough so that I do most of the fun cartooning in the actual ink stage. And I keep my brush, I don't go any lower than 15 points so that it doesn't have the reason I don't let it go any smaller than 15 is that I have found digitally when you have that infinite zoom, you use it. And I don't want it to look different than it would look if I was doing it traditionally. If I was drawing this traditionally, my brush would have a smallest possible size before the lines become too thin. So, keeping in mind, I've got some character models. This is Musicine. We have Lucifer and Musicine were our first two cats. I was a fan of the show Lucifer, and we named the real cats after that. And because the strip is based on reality, that's what the cartoon characters got named. I probably would have given them different. I probably should have given them different names that were catchier, but nothing about this strip is particularly. I don't like the way that I came out. Is particularly inspired by marketability. Yeah, I varied a little too far from the rough. There we go. That's better. SW Concert is watching. Hello. Welcome to the video. If anyone has any questions, don't hesitate to ask. I'm going to repeat that probably a lot. I know most folks are a little shy about asking questions, but fear not. And it severely helps me to keep these interesting so I have stuff to talk about. Otherwise, I end up kind of rambling or forgetting that I have a camera on me and don't say anything for like 20 minutes at a time. So hopefully I roughed this out just before getting started. I roughed it out first in I have one of those little pocket notepads, and I did a very quick little pencil or pen doodle in there just to kind of keep the idea going, as it wasn't really a scripted idea, more as it is a very visual gag. The idea of three cats and one dog that acts like a cat getting underfoot. And that minefield, when we come home tonight, we will have to walk it. And Poe has some incontinence issues and he's a little old man. So there's all kinds of stuff. And oh, looks like we have a first comment comes from syndicated cartoonist Super D of the comic strip Rosebuds, who asks, how's it feel being a Reuben nominee? So what Super D is talking about is the National Cartoonist Society Reuben Awards. They give out every year. There's the Reuben, which is the Cartoonist of the Year. I am not nominated for that. I am nominated for a silver divisional award, which is often just kind of nicknamed the Silver Reubens by most of us. And I got nominated this year for Finding D under the category of Best Online Comic Short Form, which this qualifies as, in this case, very short. and this is my second nomination. I was also nominated in my 2023 strips. So this is my second nomination for Finding D, and to answer Super D's question, it feels pretty damn good. Katie Cook made a comment. She's received a nomination as well for graphic novel, and she made a comment that really put my feelings on the whole thing into perspective. Where she said, "The people who do what I do think I do what I do well," and that's really what the Rubens are about. It's not like a popularity contest based on how many hits you got, or it really is other cartoonists looking at your work and saying, "Yeah, you've got you've got this. You're the real deal, and you got it." And I I deal with a lot of anxiety, imposter syndrome, all kinds of issues that really are a problem for me in my everyday life. I try not to talk about them too much, but it's true. And imposter syndrome in particular is a really big deal for me. And what kind of fuels it throughout the year is that, in spite of the fact that I've been doing comics in one form or another and online now for 25 years, um, I'm not, my Patreon isn't exactly blowing up. I'm not, I'm paying a bill or two a month with it. And that's real easy to kind of make your brain go, scream failure. And getting now two separate nominations from the National Cartoonist Society, from other cartoonists saying, "Hey, you're good at what you do. We think you're one of the three best at what you do to get this nomination," um, is really, it's external validation, but it feels real good. It feels real good to have that, to have, other people, pros, people who I really respect, say, "Oh yeah, you are good at what you do." And yeah, I'm not going to talk about that too much more, but yeah, it feels real good, and I am insanely excited for August. That's when the Reuben ceremony will be happening in Columbus, Ohio. It's going to be in Columbus, so it's going to be in association with the Billy Ireland Cartoon Library and Museum in Columbus, Ohio, which is an amazing, amazing museum. I've been there a bunch of times just as a cartoonist fan, and it is absolutely amazing. If you're a cartoonist in the Midwest region, anything like that, and you can make it to the Billy at any point, it's currently closed for renovation, but will be reopening next week. They've been doing a really big renovation. I'm looking forward to seeing it. If you are a fan of cartoons, comic strips, that kind of stuff, the classic um, comic strips, yeah, there is, the Billy Ireland Museum is an absolutely astounding place to go. I highly recommend visiting it if you can. Now, you don't have to be a member of the NCS to go to the Rubens. Put a piece of French bread in there, because all cartoon grocery bags have a piece of French bread just sticking out, not in a bag, just sticking out. Some bananas. Generic cartoon groceries. I almost never get paper bags, but they're funnier to draw, and in this case, are very important to the plot. So, yeah, anybody can go. If you go to National Cartoonists with an S, cartoonists.com, you can register to go to the Rubens, and I'll be there. Tons and tons of cartoonists will be there. Like Jim Davis, Kathy Geist White. It's absolutely um, an amazing experience. So you don't have to be a member to actually go. You can just sign up. I mean, there's a fee, but you can sign up. You can go. It's an amazing experience. I highly recommend it. The Quinch on YouTube says, "Born to watch cartoonist straw, forced to pretend to work." As soon as my day job was over at 4, I immediately just turned over to this. I'm like, yeah, no, I'm ready. Hope you enjoy watching me draw. I will try to keep it as entertaining as possible. And if you have any questions about the process, do not hesitate to ask. I can see the screen and answer any questions that pop up. One thing that I've been doing, I didn't used to color these strips. I used to just do them in black and white, and I started coloring them last year, and been a lot of very good responses. So I'm kind of stuck with it now. I don't really like the process of coloring. Like, it's not a thing I enjoy doing. So I really am just doing it because A, people have been responding well, but also I have 2 volumes of the comic that have been colored. And the third one is coming out soon. We're just waiting on some shipping stuff, but like I've got 2 full color volumes of Finding D in print. And when I go to a convention or a show or anything like that, and I put those on the table and I have black and whites, no one cares about the black and whites, but people are very excited to pick up the color volumes. So I was like, okay, commerce is telling me what I need to know and go color. And so I've been coloring. So I usually do much more elaborate line art, and I will be doing more elaborate um, line art on this strip, but not until I do the base line art first because it makes it so much easier to fill the colors in if I haven't done all my little cross hatching and noodly lines. Like I'm gonna put like texture on the jeans and lines on the bottom of the shoe and all that stuff. Normally I do all this at home on my iPad. I don't generally do these at the office. My iPad's brush sensitivity is just it's nicer. It's a little bit easier to work with, and a little bit of a nicer line quality than I did. I'm working right now on a very old Intuos Wacom tablet. Nothing fancy. It is about 4 by 5 over here on the side of my. Let's see if I can get it to the screen. So yeah, this is what I'm drawing on. 4 by 5 Intuos Wacom tablet. And because I've been doing it like this for over 25 years, it's over to the side of my screen and I don't need to look at it while I'm drawing. I'm very, very used to looking at the screen and having control of the line. Some people have watched me do that and think I'm insane, but it's just the way I've been working this way. I start my first comic strip online, Dandy and Company, which premiered in October of 2001, was completely drawn in Photoshop with the Wacom tablet, and I have been working that way ever since. I got comfortable working on it by of all things coloring. I would spend hours after work at my office on the work computer where I had the tablet. So at that time, I didn't even have a computer at home yet. And I was working on a tablet at the office, and wish my hair had this much body. Cartoon me has better hair and better boobs. We're generous to ourselves sometimes. But yeah, I was working, and what I would do is I would scan in pages and then color them digitally. I'd also do illustration projects for work. I was a graphic designer, and occasionally that required illustration projects, and I'd work on the computer as much as I could to get that hand-eye coordination going so that I would feel more comfortable with it. Hi, Stephanie Hardy Boyles is watching. She knows full well we were working together 25 plus years ago when I first started working digitally. I worked on that same Wacom tablet, and I'm working on the same kind of Wacom tablet that I've been working on ever since. Not gonna draw the door that I'm pushing in yet. I'm gonna do that separately, more like animation on its own layer. I'll make it a little easier. So that's Musicine. This is Lucifer. And I wanted to create this little gauntlet of pets at the door because, well, that's what I deal with. And when we come home tonight, we will be dealing with a fresh gauntlet. Usually, Poe is the biggest impediment, ironically. It's the dog that's the one that gets under our feet the most. And we like to say that it's because he can't see, but he's always gotten underfoot, well before he started losing his vision. He's a little old man puppy. He's our forever puppy. Originally, I was going to draw Lucy here giving us some side eye, but I'm like, you know what? Her whole or his whole thing is he doesn't care. He just sits there and like, I'll move if I feel like it. So yeah, this was, even though technically it's a single panel, it's kind of a four panel strip. It's four specific illustrations in sequence. Um, but it takes advantage of the single panel layout format to tell the visual joke. And I was really excited by playing. I like playing with the format like that. It's a lot of fun. It makes it a lot more interesting for me to keychain here because you're always juggling your keys too. And again, I keep my brush. I'll let it get bigger than 15 if I need to, like if I need to do a big swooshy line, but I try to keep it no smaller than 15 points, and that helps me to keep the line art looking as though it's the same as it would if I was doing it, pen on paper where you only have, you know, there are really small fine tip brushes and pens and whatnot, but you can only go so small before the tool stops making the lines. And I like to limit my the reduction of my brush size past a certain point so as that it keeps that look consistent. Two bags, which I'll have to draw. I'm not going to worry too much about what is on these boxes. It is just to fill in the weird ears I draw. So it looks like we've got a few folks here watching still. If you are watching and you have any questions or comments, please do not hesitate to ask. That gives me stuff to talk about. Makes the whole video a lot more fun for everybody because then I'm not just repeating the same things over and over again. I can see the comments here in Restream and on YouTube and on Facebook. This one I decided to do the ponytail. Sometimes it's the ponytail, sometimes the hair's out of the ponytail. It usually depends on either the theme of the strip, like am I sitting at home on the couch, then I'm usually in the ponytail. If we're out shopping or something, I'll have the hair down. But in this case, I wanted the ponytail so that you can get the action off of it as I'm moving. So it's like, wee, yeah. A little longer than my actual ponytail. It's just trimmed my hair not too long ago. Unofficially brought to you continuously by Dr. Pepper Zero Sugar. Dr. Pepper Zero Sugar? Pardon me. Yes, I can't help it. But I love it so. Gonna have the strap of my purse kind of jangle a little bit so that it helps to play up the whole I am unstable on my feet here as I'm trying to get into the house. Um, I'm almost worried I'm gonna jinx myself and go home and trip or step in a pile of poop or something because I'm drawing this. Actually been using those. I have a backpack purse. It's got Snoopy's all over it, but they're not as much fun to draw. So I'm drawing. I still have a purse that's this style, but it's it looks better for the cartoon, basically. A more standard shoulder purse. And even when I do have a more standard shoulder purse, I am usually wearing a crossbody style. Again, a lot of stuff that I put in the strip is kind of dictated on what looks best in cartoon form, basically. These are not Chuck Taylor Converses because those don't fit me properly. These are the generic ones you find at Walmart. Those do fit me. The generic knockoffs. I love them. They don't love my feet, but I love them. A little bit of shadows here. Didn't put them in initially, but I'm gonna kind of come back here before I forget about them. I was I don't go crazy, but just a little bit of a contact shadow helps to ground the figures and give them a little bit of more sense of weight and reality to the space that they're in, you know? Um, got little white paws. The two Musicine and Lucifer have little white paws on the front and back feet. The only way we can tell them apart in reality is that Lucy has a little white spot on the front of his nose, and Musy has a little gray spot on the back of her right leg. That is it. Beyond that, we have no clue which cat is which unless we're like really evaluating them properly. Okay, I drew this leg in a couple of different positions. One up a little higher, kind of the Monty Python Minister of Funny Walks kind of. But I wanted to put the leg down a little bit more so that it has a little bit more of that sense of animation to it, to where the feet are flowing from one position to the other, using the laces to kind of help sell the motion. A little bit, a little bit. Not going nuts, but let's see where we're at. Okay, so we got first two panels. I'm gonna move the inks over just a smidge because I think I put these two poses a little too close together. There we go. That's better. Another reason I'm going to clip the edges off because otherwise it won't fit. But I have complete control over what size of all this stuff is. It's one of the great parts about working on the web. So now we are at Random. Random is our newest cat, so named because she just randomly appeared on the porch one day and started living there. We found like little dead animals, and sooner or later, we started, like idiots, feeding this cat. And I just started calling her Random Cat. And shock of shocks, we started feeding the cat. We started looking around for anybody who might be interested in the cat. And after that was a failure, we ended up bringing the cat inside when the weather started getting a little too cold in the winter. And now we have three cats. Didn't want one cat, but we have three. I'm so happy. and they all love me. She's got these much bigger ears. I'm happy that she's at least a different look of cat from the other two. So I'm not constantly having to draw what looks like the same cat over and over again. She doesn't actually have the little black paws like this, but I started drawing them, and I like the visual distinction of this cat's got little black paws, the other cats have little white paws. It's not completely realistic to the actual cat, but I don't think the verisimilitude police are going to come get me. I haven't drawn her near as much as the other ones, and she's got a little bit more of a complicated design. Butt in the air. She loves the butt in the air. I'm gonna try to get this full strip done while we're recording, which is important because again, it's going to be going up tomorrow on Patreon at patreon.com forward splat patreon.com / Big Pond Comics. I wanted to say splash because my brain is muddy. I am going to change the position of the tail versus like which leg is down. So that's that. Okay. To remember which, put the correct leg up and then the correct leg back down again. I'm going to shift this and I'm going to have her putting the tail behind the leg. I think it'll make her look a little bit more wound up in me, which I think will be funnier. At least I hope it will be. So, how is everyone doing tonight or this afternoon? Hopefully, all is well out there in internet world, and we're not all drowning in the sea of never-ending drama that is life lately. Yeah, I'm gonna twist around here. Erase this. I know there's a tool where it can clip that line completely, but I don't like using it because I like every now and again having that artificial break that makes it look to me more authentic and more hand drawn. It's a tiny little thing, but I'm weird and I have my affectations. Hand around here. As I struggle with the bags. That's my little kitty wampus. I bumped the tablet there under my fingers. This is a thing I've done many times, which is bite the bag to keep it from falling. Make sure the items in the bag are at least semi-consistent, which is to say the French bread and the banana must be intact. Got to keep those things consistent. Ish. Consistent-ish is good enough. To paraphrase from The Simpsons, I'm just trying to get into heaven. I'm not running for Jesus. Okay, I need to do a little bit of a zoom out to get a reality check on where I'm at. Okay, it's coming along, coming along. 443, not too bad, not too bad. Normally, I can get a lot of these single panels done in about an hour, but that is also when I'm usually just drawing a single panel gag and not what is essentially 4 panels in 1 panel, because I am nothing if not somebody who constantly makes her life a little bit more complicated. But sometimes the idea just works better this way, and I felt this was one that worked really good as a single panel, one line of motion throughout the entire thing. I may be wrong, but we will find out. Nope. Sometimes my hand moves too fast for the actual tool to fill in properly, and you get those weird flattened off lines. A weird little affectation. Another reason why I usually prefer working on my iPad. However, I cannot get my iPad to link to my desktop computer, and I can't, if I'm doing this live streaming from my iPad, I can't share my screen. It's annoying. I don't quite know why, but it's the case. In. Filled in a little bit much, but I'll just trim it. Put a few little motion lines in. Let's see. Okay, let's see. Got the purse still in there. Put some motion lines there, motion lines there, motion lines, motion lines, and then Poe being adorable and saying, "Love me, Mama, give me all the attention." Our silly little poodle in a diaper. Yeah, a lot of people still ask when they see the strip, like, "What is he wearing around his waist?" He is a puppy in a diaper. He has been wearing little, potty pads since we first got him. He was a very he still is a smart little dog who has incontinence issues, and he's a nervous peer. So the one lesson we were really not able to properly train him on was peeing. He would just pee all over. And the more you tried to train him to do it, the more his reaction was to nervously pee. So he has been our puppy in a diaper now for 14 years almost. Here's the punchline, the final thing I'm about to trip into. Thinking I'm now free of pets is a present Poe has left behind because, again, this strip is nothing if not super classy. Of course, the poop looks a little bigger than our dog is kind of capable of producing, but bigger poop is funnier. Stink lines. Nothing says poop like stink lines. And it'll be brown too, so there's also that. But for now, it's just the stink lines. Oh, that was not even kind of closed off. You know what? I'm gonna make this a more closed off foot impact. Since the arms overlap, draw them first. Little Bart Simpson paper bag head lines. Little piece of bread up here because consistency. Bananas up here, and I'm going to put the box up high because I really want it to be clear my face is largely blocked. Again, normally I actually use like plastic bags, and be the I'm the idiot that will still like wrench their shoulder out trying to make as few trips as possible because curse you, I'm not making multiple trips. Clear him just a little bit. And he's the bigger pain in the butt in this regard because he really will just get right underfoot. And because he can't see you anymore, he will adjust to get underfoot more in a slightly different posture. He'll be like trying to get out of your way, but inadvertently, get right back under where your foot's about to set. Originally, I thought about actually doing a strip trying to visualize that idea by having Poe be underfoot on all four panels. I think that's an idea that would have worked a little better if the strip was animated, and I didn't want to have that same issue of it. I didn't want to put all that work into it and have people not understand how the dog basically looks like he's teleporting. So instead, I decided to go with the more clear to understand two cat or three cats and one dog. And I wanted to make sure that it was very, very clear that my eyes were not looking where I'm going. Because narratively at this point, the whole idea is, I have successfully cleared the pets that I'm aware that we have, and what else could possibly be coming underfoot? Poop. That's, see, sometimes that line lag is a huge pain in the butt. Ponytail kind of going off in this direction to show that I'm kind of jerking my head rather abruptly. Okay, we've got our base lines. Now I'm going to turn off the sketch layer now because we don't really need to see it. But now what I do now is I'm going to make this layer here is going to be locked. And I'm going to make a new layer for glasses first because I do wear glasses. Usually I wear glasses. They're right here, but I am farsighted, so I wear them for things that are a few, inches further away from my face. The screen I don't need them for, and they're a little blurry when I try. So what I do is try to keep the lines thin, and I give them a little white halo so that it separates the glasses from the rest of the line work. And when I add the color, it pops even better. And I always try to use the glasses to re-emphasize what direction I'm looking in. So like if I'm looking down like this, I'll bring the glasses on that angle down to the nose a little bit so that it's really clear I'm looking down. Oh, put up the line. Put those little lines in here. And I need to straighten this back out. And then the final one. Okay. So I do the glasses on their own layer. Oh, something happened. Because that way I don't have to fill in all these teeny tiny little holes and worry about them. Because again, the coloring process is a pain, and anything I can do to streamline it. So I've got my glasses on. I'm going to make this locked as well. I'm going to go put a fresh line under it for rendering. And this is where I go in and I do all the noodly lines that kind of make up a lot of my style. So I do this kind of ribbing line. I got this from, I think, Paul Smith on the book Leave It to Chance. Did these little kind of ribbing lines on the character's jeans, and I really liked the way it looked. I think it was that. You just give it a little bit more texture, makes the jeans look a little different. I don't do them too fine or tight, just enough to give the jeans a little bit of personality. But who wants to fill in all of that? So do it on a separate layer. Like also I'll do like little lines on the laces. So when I do fill this in, these lines will be on top of my color layer and on top of my other lines, so that I won't have to be fighting each other. And I won't have to worry about them in the coloring being a pain in my butt. Then I can do things like Add some texture to the bottom of the shoes. Add a little bit of, texture to the soles of the shoes, the little sides there. I'm a noodler. I noodle. I like to add shadowing and little nibby lines. Give the brush or the brush strap, the purse strap a little bit more texture. A little bit more texture for the paper bags. Bread. I'm going to put some just indication lines that these boxes are things. And then some hair. I always like to do a little bit of rendering on my hair. So as you can see, it's a much different look. I get those lines on there, and it gives everything a little bit more of a vibe that is more my style, more what I like. And even though its color will look better in black and white. Takes a little bit, but not that big of a deal. If anyone is still watching, if you have any questions at all, do not even kind of hesitate to ask. I can see the screens going. I can answer any questions that you might have. If you have any comments, I put them up on the screen. I can't do it for Facebook, but I can do it for YouTube comments. Darken it in here a little bit to emphasize the little bit of depth. My fingernails, I have them. I hate them, but I have them. More texture here to separate the foreground bag from the background bag. Hairlines in there. Just makes the hair look like it's got a little bit more volume and life to it rather than just being a shape. Some of those striations on the purse strap. Shadowing on the bottom of the purse to give it some volume. Again, fingernails. Give myself some little beads of sweat here, as this is clearly getting more strenuous. Having fun with it. We're at 5 o'clock, we're at an hour, and I am almost done with the inks, which means the coloring for this one should not take very much longer at all. A little bit more motion lines. as this is a very wobbly process trying to get in here. A little seam down the side of my leg. Helps to sell them as jeans. I don't think I did them on the first one. No, I did not. Haha. I always like to put little feathering lines on Randa's ears. Then heavier underneath the shadow of my hand. Helps to sell the volume just a little bit without going too crazy. I'm not trying to go nuts with all the rendering. It's just I do want there to be a little bit of a sense of texture and depth to this stuff, if at all possible. The planted leg here by Poe. Happy this seems to be coming along pretty quick. Darker shadow down there by the crotch. Darker shadow on the side of the end of the bag. Now when I color it, it'll have some shadowing as well. It's not all going to be the line work doing the heavy lifting, but it's got to do at least a little bit of lifting. More sweat beads because my nerves, they are clearly racked by this process. You can see there how that white line helps the glasses pop when I put the shadow on the hair there. On the little underside of the bang. Almost done with the rendering. Let's get that little pattern. And a little bit of gross extra texture here. So that you look at that and you go, ew, ew. Okay, there we go. I'm going to put some motion, big swooshy motion lines here. As I'm doing the biggest slide of side to side there. And I think over here by this foot, I'm going to sign this. And now, okay, zoom out. I'm going to take that whole thing off. I'm going to lock down the rendering layer. See, the rendering is all its own thing. Line art, I'm going to unlock. I'm going to create, let's see, where's my colors? Okay. Where's Poe? There's Poe, slightly off white. I am going to go in and make a new layer underneath the line art. Since Poe's hair is open, I'm going to go in and just draw a holding line across that and then merge these two layers together. Perfect. Then underneath the line art, I'm going to make a new layer for flats. Make this my whatchamacallit, reference layer. Link to the flat colors. Pick hair and just start filling it in. Now I don't have to worry about the glasses being in the way or too many noodly lines being in the way. I can fill it in pretty quickly, which makes a procedure that I really don't like doing take a good bit less time. I know there are some folks, they love coloring, it's their whole jam, but I am not one of those folks. Never been a person who's been all like, I love the coloring process. I don't. I find it tedious. Now you'll notice my eyes are not filled in. I do that manually for every strip. I don't like the eyes. I like the open line for the eyes. I don't do the holding lines. So that's just a personal style choice. Filled. There we go. Almost there. Yeah, we might be able to pull this one off in an hour and a half. That would be very cool. Okay, I'll be in my standard purple shirt. Oh no, that's actually the bottom of the bag. That's not the shirt. It's, I don't even own a like lavender t-shirt anymore. I had one when I first started the strip a few years ago, but I do not have one anymore. There's not one that fits or is clean. It's just, it's that cartoon thing. It's Charlie Brown's striped shirt. It's that repetition of pattern and recognizability. Grayish jeans, I have plenty of. I went with this kind of steel gray blue for the jeans because I really did not want to have like the Homer Simpson blue pants. Just because it's a cartoon character, I was like, I can have at least, a slightly more subtle shade of color for that. Since there's a couple of bursts here, I'm just gonna hand pick a bright yellow. Okay, the purse is, I actually do have a purse like this, and it is a kind of a sagey green. You can see there's a lot of little holes being left behind. I'm going to go in and fill all those out eventually, but for now, I'm going to just flat fill my colors. There's some areas where the color is kind of bleeding through, and that's not ideal. Did I draw a purse in this one? No, the purse is on the other side of me. Okay. Let us get the color for the bags. Nice paper bag color. There we go. Actually remarkably similar to Randa's body color, which I'll probably have to tweak for the strip so that Randa doesn't look like a paper bag. I do that on occasion. I'll change the model sheet colors just ever so slightly if I think it's competing with something else that needs to be that color. Probably not the ideal method, but not again. I don't really have a merchandising empire that I have to worry about. Okay, so bag is done. I'm gonna go with a lighter tan for the baguette. Marie, the baguette, hurry up. Then a yellow for the banana. We have a little bit of a yellow green. banana, banana today. I'm gonna pick some like kind of blue for some of these boxes. Just these two, and then I'll go back in and pick a different color for some of the other ones. No green and yeah, screw it, green. I'm not going nuts where I'm worried about, oh, the people are going to pay attention to the color of the grocery boxes more than anything else. I mean, completely possible, but I'm not going to stress myself out over it. I'm just going to, oh, I forgot that first. I'll make a fresh color being. Okay, cats. Ooh, their colors got clipped off. Okay, so I'm going to have to do them from memory. Kitties have kind of amber eyes, so, and a purple gray that I use for them. Usually make Lucy's a little darker and a little bit more purple, a little bit more of a blue in the purple. It's tiny, subtle differences, but I can see them. Randa has got pale green eyes. And again, a very similar color to that bag, but I'm going to pump it up just a little bit. Should have put her stripes on a separate layer with the details, but such is life. I like to go a little lighter for things like the insides of the ears and stuff like that. I'm going to go and just kind of hit her with a little bit of a dark blue for the highlights of the paws. And the highlights for their noses. Do that manually because it makes my life easier. Pose is down here. So I am going to hit him with his little kind of off-white fur. A little poodle, but you know, they're never white. I think Poe is the only visible tongue. And I like to, he doesn't really have them anymore, but he used to have mostly teal wrappies. So I kind of stick with that. And the poop. There we go. That's a good poop color. Now, there are some more colors in here that need to be sussed out, like the bottoms of my shoes and all that jazz. But what I'm going to do now is I am going to just kind of cheat and do a overall selection of everything. Get all the little holes. Oh, that's what's going on there. Okay. So fill in all these little holes. 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 And me saying holes over and over again is just blisteringly entertaining, I'm sure. But none of you are asking questions. So this is the commentary anyone watching gets. At this point, doubt anyone's still sticking around. But, you know, hope springs eternal. Expand selected area, expansion width by 2. Select invert. I'm going to make the background transparent so I can kind of see what I'm doing here. And I am going to make a fresh color layer that goes under my existing flats. And I am going to grab white. Bigger brush, fill in the teeth. Fill in the keys. Yeah, the keys can be white. White for the buckles. White for the buckles. White for the keys. White for the buckles. White for the paws. White for the paws. White for the paws. Let's fill those little holes in. White for the paws. Buckles are filled in. Teeth. Teeth. Now for my shoes, I am actually going to go a little off white, just so they stand out a little bit. So I'm going to make them a little gray. A little bit of a cooler gray than Poe. Poe's a little bit of a warmer gray. Now you'll notice there are a lot of teeny tiny little holes in the color areas that have been they're still visible. So what I'm going to do is a big old sheet, make a brand new fresh layer, put it underneath what I just did, fill it with black, fill the whole thing in black. See, there's a spot I missed. But I can just go in there, select, delete. So now all those tiny little holes of color are gone. Like you can see in the hair, see all those tiny little pixels here that are visible? Now they're filled. So makes it a lot easier to negotiate the color. Butter. So now what do I got to do? Okay, the whites, oh my eyes. So that, go back to my drawing brush, bring it down to a reasonable size again. And then I just kind of eyeball it, literally. I just kind of visualize, okay, where do I want them to go? I've been doing this long enough. I got a good feel for it. So I don't want to have those Hanna-Barbera things where my irises or the scleras are the same color as my skin. A lot of cartoons do that. Like Batman the Animated Series did that a lot, like Gordon's eyes. Drove me nuts. Depending on the studio, sometimes Bruce Wayne's eyes. It's not a fan of that look. I'm like, just really paint the white. Come on, people. There we go. Looks a lot better that way, in my personal opinion. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to new layer for shadows. Now for my shadowing, I do this fairly straightforward. I have a thick brush here. It's a gouache paint. Make it about 35 or so points. 45 maybe. And I make it a deep purple. And I just kind of do, let's see, a little smaller. I just kind of draw these like very loose color brush strokes where the shadows need to go. I'm personally like, I've tried leaving the colors flat and I'm just not happy with how they look. So I like to give them a little bit of shadow. I don't go crazy. I'm not trying to make it look like it's Pixar or anything. Or, 90s Disney Renaissance. But I want them to look nice. The little shadow helps that one bag drop to the back. Now, right now, it's on its own layer. I am not at all worried about how as you can see, the colors flying all over the place. I'm going to trim all that off using that mask I did, the black mask earlier. I can kind of just clip this color completely off. But I don't like coloring with the little, like I could have made a selection out of it, but I don't like watching the little crawling ants go across the screen while I'm trying to draw. It's distracting to me. So Maisie's colors. I like this brush because it gives it a really nice hand colored kind of almost like a coloring pencil vibe, or charcoal, or not charcoal, pastel. It's almost like a pastel. But what it does is it makes the color and the shadow look more organic. I don't want this to look I don't want it to look airbrushed or anything. like Disney packaging art in the 90s, where it was all like airbrushed within an inch of its life. That's a cool look, and I can do that, and there's a variety of different ways to achieve that look. But and I've done it before, like when I did the cover for the third color volume is done very much in that style, because I'm trying to go for like an 80s airbrushed, like those totally mini ads they did, and because it's kind of an 80s vibe to that cover. So I did that very much in that style. Some shadows on the cat. Can you picture that? Shadows on the cat. And the background for this is really just going to be some color areas. I think even the door I'm going to make abstract, kind of try to go for like that UPA Maurice Noble look. Because I want this to be more about mood and feeling than anything else. So I don't want you sitting there going, "Oh, what kind of books are on the shelf in the background in Dee's living room?" It's very unimportant. If it's unimportant, don't draw it. So we are almost, oh, cool. We're at almost an hour and a half, and I am coming in on the finish line for this strip and am super happy. It's a nice little extra. It's going to be popping up tomorrow on Patreon and next Wednesday for everyone else. But if you were here and you were watching, you got to see the whole thing early. Look at you. Aren't you special? Yeah, even though this is kind of a, like, again, this is just a little bonus strip. It's a little extra thing I have that I like to do for Wednesdays. The strip used to run on Wednesdays, and I think that's why I feel bad when there's nothing running on it. If I'm doing storylines or something that's an extended narrative from strip to strip, I'll generally run strips 2 days a week. But on weeks like this where I'm not doing that, really like to just give people the opportunity to get a little bit of something extra that's not just a rerun. Um, so what I do from here, then I got this, make the selection, select from layer, create selection, select invert, go back to my shadows, delete. Now there's no more color bleed. Let's see. Select from layer. I make a selection out of what I just painted. Go back to my flat colors. Select. Let's see. Layer. New correction layer. Hue saturation. Hue saturation. Luminosity. I bump up the saturation, which makes the colors richer, and then I drop the luminosity, and that adds some shadow and darkness to it. By changing the saturation, it's not just, I don't just gray out the colors, but you still have some depth and richness to those colors so that the shadows feel a little bit more rounded. Sometimes I'll put the shadow layer back on and do like a screen or a multiplying effect. Now it's too dark. Maybe a little bit of color, so you have that purple in there. I kind of like the way the purple looks. Yeah, I like a little bit of purple in there. Just a smidge of purple. Looks nice. From here, over the glasses, what I'll tend to do is I'll make another layer for highlights. And then with the same brush, and I'll make a very pale yellow gouache, thin brush. And then I'll just kind of come in. Don't go nuts, but there we go. I just take this bright yellow, add a little bit of a rim, a little bit of highlighting, adds just a smidge of extra roundness to everything, some more volume. I'll set this to screen so that where it's on this flesh, it'll go white rather than yellow. And just it's a little bit of extra depth. I can do things like pop parts of the cat's body off, make the eyes a little brighter. Is it necessary? No, but I like the way it looks. I like what it adds to the strip to give it just a little bit more oomph with the colors. I figured if I'm going to add color, I might as well, add color. Yes, if you're going to add it, you don't have to be timid about it. And again, if this is the kind of thing that was going in newspapers, then yeah, I probably wouldn't be putting this much into the toning. I'd, design everything to look a lot better, flat color, all that jazz. But it's not. It's on the internet, and when printed, it's printed full color. So I don't have to be choosy with it. I can, let it be its own thing and have some nice vibrance to it. And some nice little highlights. So makes me happy, happier with the final product, and that is important to me. So I'm going to do some more to this, play with the background, but a lot of that will probably be in Photoshop. So I am going to call it, oh no, I'm going to put a little bit of highlights on the poop. But yeah, I'm going to call it a night on this one. So this will be coming up soon. I hope you all enjoyed. Anyone who's still watching, thanks for watching, and I'll be back next time, whenever that time happens to be. I don't know. Don't plan these out very